You're listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast, released in late November 2021. It's week for Chicago TARDIS, so that's what our episode is about. And we'll get to see Fraser Hines in person, but in the meantime, here he is, Fraser Hines.
They all say, who is Doctor Who? Where is he from? What does he do? They wonder who is Doctor Who? So I ask you, who's Doctor Who?
Welcome back to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast, the podcast that explores the exciting world of Doctor Who collecting, those who collect, issues surrounding Doctor Who collecting, and of course, all kinds of Doctor Who and related merchandise. Welcome back to the show. I am Larry Van Mersbergen, your host, and I've been collecting Doctor Who now for 40 years. I opened one of the first Doctor Who stores dedicated to serving Doctor Who fans in Chicago in 1984 called Bundles from Britain. And I was an actual dealer at TARDIS 22 in November 1985. It was a very exciting time to be part of that history. By the way, speaking of history, Bundles from Britain, of course, is mentioned in a wonderful book that every collector needs to have on their shelf. It's called Red, White, and Who, The Story of Doctor Who in America. You can find the link to buy this book on the front page of our website at drwhocollectors.com. We do not get anything for it. We want everyone to have it, so it's just there for your convenience. I want all collectors to have that book. I am excited, of course, to announce that we are now part of a new Doctor Who podcast network called Direction Point. Not only am I a member, I'm also the president and CEO. So I started this network to help podcasters reach bigger audiences without having to go it alone. With other podcasters and podcasts to work with, it helps you to expand your audience and increase your reach as Doctor Who fans. So you can find some of these great podcasts at directionpoint.org. And if you do host a podcast for Doctor Who, join today at directionpoint.org. And you can join the ranks of podcasters such as this podcast, Time Streams, Police Box in a Junkyard, the Doctor Who Target Book Club podcast, and Traveling the Vortex. So again, directionpoint.org. And speaking of links, I always like to include great resources for collectors in the first part of the show. So the first one you should have, of course, is timelash.com. It's a great place to keep track of your books, your vinyls, cassettes, CDs, videotapes, Blu-rays, DVDs, and it's all for free. Just sign up for a free account there at the TARDIS Library. And special thanks to Mr. Dan O'Malley, who keeps that up and running for free. If you need help identifying a Doctor Who item, or you want to find out a little bit more about something, or even just see what is out there in the world of kitchen goods, or telephone boxes, or pajamas, you can find out at Howe's Transcendental Toy Box, doctorwhotoybox.co.uk. Of course, David J. Howe is a great friend and a great resource. If you're looking for great Doctor Who items at great prices, then you look no further, and trust me on this, DoctorWhoStore.com. Alien Entertainment's own Doctor Who store, and if you're in the Chicagoland area, visit their shop in downtown Lombard. It is an experience. They're closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, and they're closed the week of Thanksgiving, just to let you know. One of our sponsors is Forbidden Planet, and you can find some great stuff just by going to our website at drwhocollectors.com and select the Doctor Who merchandise links. In addition to all our podcasts posted, we also have one of the first complete guides to the Doctor Who classic hardcover books. We list a lot of information on reprints and other publishers that many other resources, I should say, don't have, and I compiled it from some of the best locations I could find, including the Bundles from Britain catalog, which had a complete list of classic hardcovers distributed in the United States. So check it out. Also, right now, of course, if you're in the Chicago area and you're planning to attend Chicago TARDIS in just a few days from this taping, you will need to have proof of a COVID-19 vaccine or a negative COVID test within 72 hours. Very important. Face coverings will be required in all convention venue areas. So please help us protect our Doctor Who actors who are older and more vulnerable, such as our friends Colin Baker, Terry Malloy, Michael Jaston, and Fraser Hines. I will talk more on Chicago TARDIS in just a moment. So keep ChicagoTARDIS.com, of course, in your bookmarks, if we still bookmark things, or in your short list, or wherever you want to keep that, and experience the best Doctor Who convention in the Midwest. It's the only convention that I attend as part of the Doctor Who Collectors podcast. I am honored, of course, to be the official collecting expert for Chicago TARDIS, so be sure to stop by and say hello in person. You can also find, if you missed this year and you want to check out what that session that I usually present is about on collecting Doctor Who, check out the virtual session we did last year, and it's still on the YouTube page for Chicago TARDIS, also on the Doctor Who Collectors podcast video playlist. Just search for us on YouTube. More on that in the main story. Our theme song is Who's Doctor Who, composed by Barry Mason and Les Reed, performed by our friend Fraser Hines. Keep in mind that Barry Mason and Les Reed also wrote #1 hits for Tom Jones. So that's not the best song they wrote, but it wasn't a hit, but that's okay. You can hear this podcast, of course, anywhere you get your podcasts, including Stitcher Radio, Pandora, Amazon Music, and Podbean. And find this podcast wherever this podcast can be found. Also is included Direction Point at directionpoint.org. We are a Direction Point Network podcast. After the break, we will have the main story. Collection protection will be rolled into our main story tonight because our main story is Chicago TARDIS. And of course, I have a most outrageous offer for a book that was published in 2011, which isn't that long ago, 10 years. And it's appreciated quite a bit, at least according to Big Bang Books. So we'll have to check that out soon. So stay tuned.
Are you ready to travel through time with us? Then check out Traveling the Vortex, a Doctor Who podcast. For nearly 7 years and more than 500 episodes, we've traveled from one end of the vortex to the other, making different stops with different doctors, reviewing everything from TV stories to audio plays, from books to comics, and more. Sean, Keith, and Glenn take you on a journey through 50-plus years of Doctor Who episodes and spin-off materials. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, so be sure to check us out. And now, we're a proud member of Direction Point, a Doctor Who podcast network. You're listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. Keep collecting.
Hello, fellow time travelers, and welcome to the Doctor Who Target Book Club podcast, the only podcast to discuss, in story order, all the Doctor Who novelizations. My name is Tony Whitt, and every 2 weeks or so, I'm joined by a 2 to 3 person discussion panel, including our so-called expert who's been a Who fan since 1979. That would be me. We also get the views of intermediate, casual, and novice fans who either have never seen the show or who have never read these books until these podcasts, including
Dalton Hughes
and
Alison Seyfried.
You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you find good podcasts, or even ones like ours. You are listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast, a Direction Point podcast. Keep collecting.
I would like to invite you to take a trip across all of time and space.
Join us in the police box as we discuss the worlds of Doctor Who in a completely random order.
We discuss it all. TV stories, audio adventures, novels, nonfiction books, and on and on. I'm your host, Eric Branson. I would be very happy if you join me for the Police Box in the Junkyard podcast.
The Police Box in the Junkyard podcast is a proud partner of the Video Junkyard podcast and can be found on most major podcast platforms including SoundCloud, Podcast Addict, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and Spotify.
You are listening to
the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast.
Live in a box.
That's no more a box than you are a governess.
Oh, spoken like a man. You know, you're the same as all the rest. Sweet little Clara works for the Rose and Crown. Ideas about their station. Well, for your information, I'm not sweet on the inside, and I'm certainly not...
It's called the TARDIS. It can travel anywhere in time and space. and it's mine.
Hello, and now it's time for the main story. Today is our story about what's happening at Chicago TARDIS 2021. This is the convention we build up to almost all year, starting in December. Even though it was over, we're looking forward to the next one. Last year, unfortunately, due to the pandemic, it was a virtual convention, and it was a lot of fun. I got to present the first big session of that virtual convention, which was Doctor Who Collecting, and it's still available if you want to watch that on the YouTube channel. You can find it on my YouTube channel, Doctor Who Collectors Podcast, and just choose video playlists, and it's there, or you can find the Chicago TARDIS YouTube channel. You can also find it on the Chicago TARDIS Facebook page under videos, and that way you can add questions to that feed, and I will answer them, which is great. Or even better, you can come see me at Chicago TARDIS 2021, which is happening as of this recording, and this podcast is being released on Tuesday, November 23rd, Doctor Who Day. So happy 58th birthday to Doctor Who. It's still on the air. It's still popular. And I'm very happy to be talking about the memorabilia side of Doctor Who collecting. Anyway, here's what I'm doing at Chicago TARDIS. So a lot of people are choosing their battles based on what day they want to go. I'd say, all 3 days is a wonderful experience, but if you can only do 2 out of the 3, then Saturday and Sunday might be your better picks. So here's what I'm doing. I'm actually doing nothing on Friday. Well, no, I'll be there on Friday. I've got autographs, photographs. I'll be meeting people, talking about the Direction Point Network, of course, and things like that, and things going on, catching up with friends I haven't seen in 2 years. But I start off on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to be on a panel with Asad Kazingi and Nathan Laws, 2 of my good friends, about a deep dive examination into the trial of a Time Lord, which was season 14 of the classic series Doctor Who, the shortest season in Doctor Who history. And we will be doing a panel discussion of the trial of the Time Lord, from time travel oddities to the Valiard, the megabyte modem to the opening shot to those cliffhangers. Trial has plenty to chew on as we decide whether we say it's great or not so great. So Nathan and I are speaking on that. Assad is moderating. By the way, you can hear Assad on Police Box and a Junkyard podcast, and Nathan Laws is behind the microphone for Time Streams, both Direction Point Network podcasts. Shameless plug. Then, of course, at 11 o'clock, at 1 o'clock on Saturday, that's my big one. Doctor Who Collecting, Tips from a Professional Collector. I will have that one ready to go. It's basically, I take a good chunk of my collection and I show off what is available out there, what you can get, what things look like up close, as well as tips on where to find stuff, how to shop, how to protect things, how to avoid outrageous offers, like we do here on the podcast, and do it kind of in a venue that is live. So that is at 1 o'clock in the secondary programming room, along with the first one is also in the same room. So it's they have programming rooms set up by the main ballroom. That's the main stage, and then they have the secondary and the tertiary programming schedule, so you can see that. By the way, you can find the Chicago TARDIS schedule at chicagotardis2021.sched.com, and you can then put together your own program. There will not be a printed program this year. And so that kind of concludes Saturday, but I will be around on Saturday afternoon, usually after the collecting program. Once I get everything put back in the car, I'm usually in the dealer's room, unless I have a photograph or autograph waiting, or somebody wants to talk to me, and I will help anybody in the dealer's room if they're looking for something particular, or how to search stuff, how to look at condition and things like that. So that's usually what I do there. And then Sunday at 10 o'clock, I will be on the main stage Sunday at 10 o'clock, and we're doing a great discussion panel called the Chicago fan clubs of the 80s. And this is moderated by John Lavallee, and amongst myself speaking, Stephen Warren Hill, who's the programming director for Chicago TARDIS. He comes back from that era, and Robert Wettendorf. And Robert Wettendorf and I go back 36 years. We were both members of the Many Companions of Doctor Who, and that's where all of this got started in that particular club. So for the first time in a live venue on a main stage at a Doctor Who convention, you're going to hear my story all the way back from 1984 and late November 1984, actually probably right around Thanksgiving. So how fitting to have that told on the main stage. And then immediately following that, at 11 o'clock in the tertiary program room, I will be on a panel called Who is the Sixth Doctor? I've been doing a lot of speaking on the Sixth Doctor. Of course, Colin Baker himself will be a guest at Chicago TARDIS. I'm looking forward to seeing him as well. And this is at 11 o'clock in tertiary. I said that discussion of the Sixth Doctor in various media, how the character develops and softens, beginning with the cuddly old 6C a long way from the post-regeneration madness of Twin Dilemma. Topics include which version is our favorite, Big Finish's ending for the character, how Colin revisits different versions of him in Big Finish, and how the Virgin novels and comics interpreted the character. It's being moderated by Christina Broxton, and I am a speaker on that. It's just me and her, it looks like, at this point. So then that's a wonderful thing as well. So the next thing that happens on Sunday at 1 o'clock is a panel called Doctor Who Podcasting Behind the Microphone. And do you have expertise in the area of Doctor Who you want to share, learn how to start your own podcast, and get tips from top podcasting hosts? Organize your topics, marketing, to get sponsors, what equipment you need, and startup related costs. It's being moderated by our good friend Eric Branson, and so far I'm a speaker, and we'll also have Tony Witt on the program. All three of us are Direction Point Network podcast hosts. Eric Branson is behind the microphone at Police Box in a Junkyard, and Tony Witt, of course, has been on my podcast many times. He is our official Target Book novelization expert, but he's also the host and producer of the Doctor Who Target Book Club podcast. And so I will be officially announcing the formation of the Direction Point Network, which is a network for Doctor Who podcasts to help podcasters help other podcasters reach larger networks without spending a lot of money. In fact, we use what we call bumpers or trailers, and we insert those into other podcasts to draw people to outside their comfort zone, so to speak, into other podcasts. And so as a result, we did a joint podcast with the Target Book Club for their episode 100. It was a few episodes back on the Doctor and the Enterprise. And that showed a significant uptick in subscribers on both podcasts. So we kind of saw an idea there. And so we're going to talk about that more along with those other topics. And you'll find that in the secondary program room at 1 o'clock on Sunday. And then I wrap up the weekend at 2 o'clock. This is very exciting. I'm doing a session on how to play the game War of the Daleks, the classic board game from 1975, Dennis Fisher. One of the most unique board games, moving Daleks in a complex set of rules. So you have to destroy the control center and defeat the King Dalek. I have two working games that I will be bringing to the convention in the Gaming Citadel. I've actually gotten a little bit of a thumbs up from the gaming master himself, Mr. Nick Seidler. He's the house manager for Chicago TARDIS, and I'm hoping he will be there, but a number of people have said there will be in the Gaming Citadel. But of course, I'll be there all weekend. I'm going to take in the convention as I usually do, and I love catching up with people. If you're going and you've never said hello to me, please do. I love to meet my listeners. I love to meet other fans. I like to, if you'd like to be interviewed for the podcast, I'm more than happy to have. I love collection stories, and I haven't had one in a while, so I'd love to get a few on here as much as possible. So that's the Chicago TARDIS. I was going to wrap collection protection into this particular thing, since I want to go back to my Doctor Who collecting Tips from a Professional Collector at 1 o'clock. This year I have giveaways. I have giveaways from my sponsors at Bags Unlimited Incorporated, which include collection protection items. Mr. Chris Achilleos, I have a couple of his books to give away. I have some older books to give away. Terraqueous Publications, I have a Doctor Who fanual, or annual that was produced by a fan, and a few other little odds and ends that I'm going to be giving away. You just fill out a raffle ticket. You have to be present to win. I pull out a ticket, you win. It's that easy. It might get your collection started or add something to your collection you've always wanted, or maybe something that, you could pass on to somebody else. We did give away, the last time we did this at the podcast recording, we gave away a copy of the unofficial 1972 Doctor Who Annual. So please join us there. I'm not sure what my piece de resistance will be. I'm hoping a package will come in soon that will determine that. But I have some goodies to show. Lots of different things to how to protect or display your collections, and that is usually the highlight of the convention for many people. And so I appreciate the people that got it on there. It wasn't on there as of yesterday, so we did some finagling and some cancellations happened, so I was able to get on there. Anyway, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see some of you at Chicago TARDIS this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Westin Hotel in Lombard.
All my travelings throughout the universe, I have battled against evil, against power-mad conspirators. I should have stayed here. The oldest civilization. Decadent, degenerate, and rotten to the core. Power-mad conspirators, Daleks, Sontarans, Cybermen. They're still in the nursery compared to us. 10 million years of absolute power. That's what it takes to be really corrupt.
And it's time now for the most outrageous offer for the week of Chicago TARDIS. And by the way, I will guarantee that you could probably get a copy of this book at Chicago TARDIS in the wonderful dealer's room. Be sure to visit all of the vendors in both the Artist Alley and the main dealer's room. This particular listing was found by me, so I wanted to share it. It is a copy of the Doctor Who Encyclopedia, new edition by Gary Russell, published in 2011. It has over 623 ratings on Goodreads. And this particular seller is Big Bang Books out of Durham, United Kingdom. They have been a seller online since October of 2016, so they've been around the block for a while. The seller rating is, of course, 5 stars, so that means they deliver great service, they don't make mistakes, and it's all good. They are selling a used copy of this book. By the way, shipping to the United States is listed at $60.45, but the price they're asking for is $1,383.67. That's a bit outrageous in my book, especially when a new copy is being sold for $38 and some used copies for as low as $5.70. Again, when you find a Doctor Who item that is priced a little bit higher than where you think it should be, do a little bit of research, or even better still, send the link to us at drwhocollectorspodcast@gmail.com, and we'll check it out for you. And if it turns out to be an outrageous offer, it will probably get read on the air. And if you want to be mentioned, of course, let us know. Or if you want to remain anonymous, that is your right. Just let us know. Anyway, you can find the Doctor Who Encyclopedia also on Amazon, as well as other fine places that sell used Doctor Who books, but I guarantee you will not have to pay that much money for it. That concludes our special edition podcast here about Chicago TARDIS. I hope you found it informative, and I hope to see many of you this coming week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Westin Hotel in Lombard. Until then, keep collecting.
Direction point! Direction point!
A Doctor Who podcast network.